Hi everybody, welcome.
Haribol.
Haribol, namaste. It's great to be here. Welcome to Rise of the Sacred Sovereign. My name is Jaishree Devi Dasi of JaishreeYoga.com and the Soul Mapping Matrix. And this is our amazing guest.
Kala.
It's Kalanidhi Das.
Kalanidhi Das.
Amazing healer, teacher, father, husband, friend, devotee, so many things.
Say more, say more.
I know, right? And my husband. And my partner in all
sorry
things.
Facebook, sorry Instagram. She's taken.
Oh. All right. So, yes, I am by Krishna and my Guru Dev, it's true, and my baby Narayani. So welcome to day 4 of Rise of the Sacred Sovereign. By the way, the world is falling apart, and we are having one of the hardest roller coasters of our life. The time is ripe for healing and empowerment, but it's also so hard. And the world is so divided. So tonight we decided to come on together and go really deep with our beloved
Going
Facebook
in, as they say.
And Instagram family. We are super humbled to have the opportunity and this tiny, tiny bit of a platform that we've been very, very mindful about over this past year with all the censorship going on. So if we have to use any coded words, we will. But this is a wake-up time, and we are humble servants of the divine. So for all of us, we'd like to start with a bit of an incantation invocation, because it's something that we do in the Soul Mapping Matrix. It's something we've done in Soul Culture Yoga School. It's what we've done every day of our life, and probably the worst days are the days we don't invoke. If we can all come together and really connect with our divine qualities, especially right now, even though the world is in such a is in so much turmoil, okay, on every level. And it's so palpable that our friend Jai Radhe and I and so many of us have been talking about this and feeling it. And Sarah, I know we're all feeling it, and all our devotee people, about how incredibly intense it is. So if we could, just for a moment, wherever you are, if you're sharing this, thank you so much, because the more it gets shared and the more you comment your questions, the more people will be able to rise up together in their sacredness and in their sovereignty. And this is day 4 of a challenge that has been incredibly powerful and personal to myself, because honestly, we're going through one of the hardest shifts in our life. And, you know, as a person who feels pain every day of their life, I know that individually we're all responding to the collective. So there is power in numbers, and there's power in the positive, but there's also power in coming together and seeing what's real in the form of awareness. And that, of course, is the very first level, being aware and then shifting that, rising and raising that vibration, and then making a choice. So our choice in this Rise of the Sacred Sovereign is to show up every day, whether we feel like it or not, at 8 p.m., and to connect with you. Sometimes there'll be a star appearance of Narayani, and sometimes there will be a guest. Tonight we have Kalanidhi Das, and hopefully we'll have him more.
I'm auditioning.
Auditioning.
So if you like the performance,
oh my God,
give some feedback. Come on, I need it. I need the help here.
Thank you, handsome hubby you have. Love Mama Bear Mandy. Yeah, thank
Mandy.
you, Mandy.
Hi.
We love you. The Amanda. So, I love that. That must be a new name. I love that.
Nice.
3 Gullens and a buoy.
I like it.
Okay, guys, if you're on Facebook, please type in your questions and comments. And if you're on Instagram, please do it, because this is a conversation. Let's start with an invocation. Take a big breath in. Expand and contract on your exhale. So let's feel all the grossness. One more time. Inhale, expand into the possibility. Open your heart. Exhale, contract. Even feel the anger and aggression inside of you for all the division. One more time. Open up your heart. Maybe open your palms. And this time, as you exhale, draw the goodness into your heart and belly and solar plexus. Now breathe normally. If you need some more big breaths, just do that. If you need to contract a little more and like move it through your body, sitting or standing, do that, because we all do. And then as you inhale and exhale, start to find the tightness in your body. This is universal. This is beyond 3D, beyond 4D, 5D, spiritual talk. Universal spiritual. Move your head around, drop your shoulders. When we go into the awareness of what is in our bodies and in our realms, we're going to feel discomfort, we're going to feel pain, we're going to feel tightness and contraction. But once you go into that, you recognize, oh my God, whether you recognize it or not, keep breathing, you're in a portal. And this portal is about the shift and the rise of you as a sacred and sovereign soul. So feel the discomfort, but know you are not alone, and we are together in this. This is about the collective coming together. Open up your jaw, lift your shoulders up, drop them down, and exhale. Be a little bit vocal. And as you find your breath, you're going to also find the energy of sweetness and kindness. Because as the theme of tonight says, you are a soul. Wherever you come from, whatever your beliefs are, we are all spiritual beings living on Mother Earth. And Earth is beautiful, and we're going to talk about that which cannot be seen or heard or felt as we talk about what's going on in the 3D realm. So we got you, and if you comment and share, we can get you some more. Now feel into what is in your heart and what you want. Do you want beauty? Do you want connection? Do you want peace? If you can catch that wave, and when you can catch that wave of sweetness, of softness, of serenity, when you can feel it, open up one palm to the sky and hold it in your hand. It doesn't matter what you look like. Hold it up to heaven on earth and open your fingers and expand. And as you feel into that richness and that sweetness, when you're ready, you're going to take your other hand and with space between your palms, bring that hand on top of the other, right over left or left over right, whatever feels good for you, as if you're holding an imaginary ball. And then feel the energy between your palms, your own prana life force energy. This is your portal. This is your time to expand into what you want. Imagine that from your heart and from your love and from your sacred and sovereign soul, you can bring right in front of you everything you wish to see in the world, and we can hold it together. Any language, any religion, anything that is of God, if I can say that, or divinity. And if you don't believe in God, it's totes okay. You do believe in goodness, right? You know what goodness is and what it feels like. And although we've been totally taken over by all the yucky stuff and it's out there, at least we're seeing it and we're feeling it. And we're knowing for just a moment that there is so much goodness in the world, that there is so much to take care of in each other as human beings. And that's what we're gathering to discuss. And that's what we want to feel. Now take that portal and feel all the edges. Nothing to figure out, just feel all the edges. Imagine it as light and beauty and success. And then expand your palms out and breathe into that expansion. Bellow it like an accordion or just love. And on the count of 3, we can come back and do this again later. We're going to bring our palms together. We call this Agya Mudra, but it's just palms together. 3, however they meet, in front of your heart. 2, 1, and with your palms together, just bowing our chins slightly and bowing to goodness, bowing to integrity, bowing to genuine love for humanity, genuine love for love, all humans, all souls, all animals, all species, and even for the demonic, negative, painful forces that move through people, to let them go to the light, be gone, be revealed. We have so much love. We are such amazing, powerful people working in the light that we can expand our heart and our love. If you have a mantra, or you have a teacher, or you have the name of Jesus or Buddha or God or Krishna or Radha or your guru or anybody, whoever you feel that you want to humbly offer your moment to thank, do that now. Your friends, your family, your parents, your loved ones who have passed, the ancient wisdom holders, the way showers, the wisdom keepers, the people who have come before and gone, and to us for holding the line of love and light and integrity. Draw your palms to your forehead with gratitude and respect. We can simply bow to one another and say, we love you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up. Draw your hands back together to your heart. And welcome and thank you for being here.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
So what are we talking about?
Rise of the sacred sovereign. Rise of the sacred sovereign. So, 2 incredibly powerful words, sacred and sovereign. And
oh my gosh.
Both coming together. Tonight we're talking about the world is falling apart. Your soul, but your soul is indestructible.
Soul is indestructible.
So we're going to go in tonight. And we've been asked to speak. See, this is our goal. Our goal is to show up, to represent lineage, to represent truth as we have been given it, as we see it, as we know it, as we feel it, and to connect with what is unfolding in our world, and the madness and the craziness and the revolution that everyone can feel. And everyone is talking about it in a different language. Everyone might see a different landscape, but at this point it's undeniable that the world is birthing something new, and we are all going along for the ride. So when we say words like the world is falling apart, it's true. And when we say words like your soul is indestructible, it's not a platitude anymore. It's not a nice thing to say in a yoga class anymore. These are vital, essential. This is why we have this series called Yogi's Guide to the Apocalypse, which we started last year. Because these are essential tools. They're not things that are luxury items. They never were, but for a while we were lulled into the idea that yoga was a luxury, that spirituality was a luxury, that whatever space that you worship in the church was a luxury, your relationship to God is a luxury, or it's a fantasy, or it's an infantile dream. Many labels and many boxes that are inherent power as sacred sovereign were meant to be controlled by fear, by limitation, by authority figures, so many things coming in order to contain us and prevent us as individuals from rising and collecting and collectively rising. And so this is what is happening on the planet. So we try to practice as we invoked this holding of sacred space, always coming back to what is known in the yoga world as sattva, which is the mode of goodness. And yet in this time, each one of us is called to ride the dragon, is called to be bold and courageous and to speak truth. And so tonight I wanted to talk about some people and some personalities that really embody this quality. And we very often talk about saints, and we talk about very strong spiritual figures, and we may do that tonight, but I wanted to start tonight by talking about a personality that I was just reminded of, who I really look up to as was one of my big inspirational figures. And just talk about her story a little bit, and not talk so much about the current events, and maybe some takes on the current events, just because, censorship is a real thing right now. And I just, encourage everyone to continue to do your own research.
Do your research.
To keep your eyes open. The most vital thing in this time is to be yourself, is to be on the edge of your own self-discovery, and to question all narratives, and to learn at the very least what propaganda is, how it operates, and who benefits by the ideas that are put out. So the woman I want to talk about tonight is Cynthia McKinney. And if no one is familiar with Cynthia McKinney, she was a congresswoman. I think it was from Georgia. And she's also been on the Rainbow Party ticket. In 2008, I believe she was in the presidential seat. And she's also done many other things, like been part of sending cargo freights with humanitarian aid to Palestine.
Oh, and should we say this is for entertainment purposes only?
Sure.
Just kidding. I said, should we say this is for entertainment purposes only?
Oh, we're not going to talk about anything.
Nope. Just talking about a real person,
we're
wonderful,
we're not
historical
doctors, we're not
person
journalists.
who's still wonderful and alive.
Yeah, we're just humble human beings sharing. So Cynthia McKinney, I found out about right around 2004, and saw her as a bold truth teller, sort of in the same line as, Dennis Kucinich was really big at that time, Ron Paul was really big in that time. People that were speaking against this mainstream narrative, right? People that were resisting propaganda, not saying anything about what they were... Not just
propaganda, but evil also.
Well, I was actually going to say, I'm not saying anything about what they were saying. I'm not saying, putting any claims about truth specifically, but just the act of going against the narrative and standing in their truth as sacred sovereigns, as human beings, and creating space for alternative viewpoints and meaning by their courageous actions. And it wasn't just courage in the sense of what she embodied is the consequences of doing that. She was she was in Congress before September 11 of the 11 variety, if you know what I mean. And she was part of the hearings that happened, the questionings. And she, because of the things that she was... September of the
okay, great.
September of the 11 variety.
Okay.
We're speaking in some code here.
Yes.
And she brought up very serious questions about, where all this money had gone, about where, what was actually in building number 7, that was the paper trail for said money, and what happened, and then some other, darker things that were coming out at that time. And there's a film that I strongly suggest everyone to watch that's called Blackouts. And that film is a case study in what happens when someone speaks out. And she lost her re-election, but let's say that it was not a legitimate process that happens, and the film documents that. So she was, her political career was destroyed, but she kept on being who she was and speaking truth. And so because of that, I thought about her too in this title that we're talking about, The World is Falling Apart, because in the soul mapping matrix, we recognize that there's an internal landscape, there's an external landscape, and then there's actually a more special psychic collective landscape. And we go through those landscapes in the course. And so right now, the external landscape is literally falling apart. For some of us, our internal landscape has been disrupted, maybe 5 years ago, maybe right around 2012. Maybe it was earlier than that. Maybe it was 50 years ago in the 60s. So many people's landscapes were disrupted, and they learned new languages of their soul, of them as sacred sovereigns. And they've been living this reality for this long. But now the entire thing is starting to fall apart, right? The entire external world is starting to fall apart. And the language is emerging, not just for individuals, but we're actually needing to learn a new language together. And so someone like Cynthia McKinney was forced to go through that process because of her choice to stand for truth. And that's the history of most saints on the planet, right?
Yes.
We know them as saints, but when they were alive, they were, antagonized, some brutalized, some murdered, some, they willingly bore that, and they willingly embraced that because they knew that their soul is indestructible. And I'm not saying that Cynthia McKinney is a saint and that she stands in full soul realization. No. But we can still look to her, especially in this political time, and listen to her, because she's someone that's gone through the shit. She has endured something that no one can fathom what it's like to speak truth and have your entire life be turned upside down because of that. And still to go on and still to pivot. She had something to pivot on that has been enduring throughout this whole time that I've observed her, and you should have the track record to see. And she continues to speak out and speak her mind. And she has weight because of that. She has gravity because of that. And that kind of leads us back into the spiritual realm, right? Because people that speak with gravity, yes, we call them guru. And it's not that Cynthia McKinney is a guru. Guru is something that is very, very, very different and not of this world and very special. And yet we can start to understand a little bit of what the weight and the heaviness of guru is when we look at certain people's lives that live in integrity. We start to kind of come in contact with that, and we start to desire that in our own lives, and see actually that as a quality that we cultivate by acting as souls, as facing the challenges. And so now we're all being given this massive just opportunity to do that in our own lives. It's not just the external, it's the way it mirrors and presents itself on the internal and also the individual level for each one of us.
Kalanidhi, I want to thank you so much for being here and for everything you're sharing. And I'd like to point out that I promised Kala that I would not speak negatively about myself or call out mistakes. However, something I do that's amazing.
If it's about me, it's okay.
Right.
You can call me out.
I don't know. So I now am going to use myself as a foolish but true example of what is happening in the world. So Kala was sharing about this real person, Cynthia McKinney, who's been an amazing hero to so many. And he had a purpose and reason we did coming to share it. And I said something to the effect of, well, we're also talking about people who called out evil. Now, when I said that, it almost negated the whole point of the conversation, but it didn't. It just was a foolish moment to say, that's what we keep doing. We keep coming out of the center to talk about facts, and we color it with our own emotions. And I'm very fallible as a human being, but I'm also just going through the greatest upheaval of my time and lots of things. So I got a little messy and I got a little emotional, and I said that. But in some ways, it's a great point. Because if we let that happen too much, we're invalidating. But if we don't do it enough, we're not speaking out. So that spectrum is there of how do we come together and start sharing, you know, both sides of the spectrum. And that is also why we do couples work.
Yeah.
Because we're doing that work together, and why we like to do
Yeah.
it out in the world.
Yeah.
So just as a reminder, if you have any comments or questions, please share, because this is actually a live conversation. The second thing was, thank you for talking about Cynthia, and we could talk about so many more people, because I think a lot of folks don't even probably know who she is.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of us knowing that this is actually the age of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is a real person who came right around the time of Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
Around that time. And he was
In West Bengal.
in West
India.
Bengal in
He was
India.
born.
And, you know, this lineage that we love to talk about had so many activists and so many speakers of the truth. And they got beat, as he said, in the marketplace, in the street, for speaking truth. And that's kind of it's looking like happening again right now, or perhaps it happened then. Can you speak a little bit to that? And as we were asked to speak about, the divide is so palpable. I mean, you go outside and...
Yeah, I'll say this without, because this isn't a platform to get into some of the specifics as it's playing out on the earth plane and playing out in the United States right now. But I would say a couple things. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation of God, an incarnation of Krishna. And he is an incarnation that has come to exhibit in the most magnanimous and astounding way the absolute ecstasy and intoxication of love of God. Pure, soul-shaking, earth-breaking love of the divine order, the highest divine order. And because of that, and it's said in our tradition that he came to break open the treasure house, the storehouse of love. And he was called the Great Reformer, because in his mission, and because God always comes to the planet to accomplish many things at once, he came to completely reform Indian society and to break apart the limitations of the caste system had imposed upon access to these mantras, access to Kirtan, which is the congregational gathering and playing of music and drums and chanting and doing it together in order to align and serve that ecstasy, that divine love that Chaitanya came to give. And he included everyone in that. Didn't matter, again, what caste you were, what gender you were, what race you were, it didn't matter at all. Everyone was included. Didn't matter what spiritual path, because India is the oldest culture, oldest spiritual culture on the planet. So many different specific little varieties of and ways of looking at God, because God has innumerable, unlimited forms and names and personal expressions. But all of those were united underneath this grand banner of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he came to bring, again, Kirtan, which is the gathering. It's like parades in the streets. It's like the Salvation Army playing, with a grand band marching down the street and playing music and chanting these names of God and worshiping, but causing a ruckus, a transcendental ruckus. So what I see in that can be sort of applied right now in this great divide that we're talking about, is that every individual is inherently sovereign and is inherently sacred, and that there is a need to speak one's truth and to not be afraid of what that truth is going to. What am I trying to say? It is definitely it is like a free speech sort of thing, but it's a free speech because we are all uplifted by each other's expressions. And so he came to break down barriers. So I would just sort of say that there's so many barriers that are being put up right now, and so many attempts to control and to be wary of that, because attempts to control and to build institution around that, is there's never been a time in history where that has gone well. It's usually like, oh, that institution, you know, why is it that way? We need to work against it. So, but there's an anger that happens and it can arise, and if it's not under shelter and if it's not spiritually aligned with something higher, as we talk about core desire so much, the choices that we can make can be made out of anger that can turn destructive, or that can turn into hatred, or can turn into so many different things. So the challenge is to be able to channel this very real moment of energetic explosion and volcanic energy that we can't do anything about. We can't put it back in the box. We can't turn it off. There's astrological placements that are just, you know, it's millennium in the making. What's happening right now, we can't stop it. But what we can do is we can choose to show up even bigger and bolder, and yes, as we did in the beginning, to invoke and to create that sacred space in that container, and do it every day.
Every day.
Do it more times a day. Make a commitment to do it 3 times a day or 5 times. It doesn't have to be the 10 minutes that we did in the beginning. It could be just simply bring your hands here, because this is the secret. This is the amazing flip side of this, is that we are getting superpowers, and that our consciousness is upgrading at a rate that is we can't even comprehend right now. And so our ability to focus in what might have taken us a 60-minute yoga class or 6 years showing up to a yoga class every day to get to that place, we can do now just
immediately
by focusing and aligning ourselves as children of God and standing underneath that banner, or goddess, or however you relate to the divine. We have to get over the just the hesitations about talking about these things, and just fully embrace that we're all divine family. And we have to start sharing our words so that we can create this language together. And as we create this language together, this space that we all have inside of us, which is inherently sacred and sovereign, will rise, and we will rise with it, and then we will collectively rise. And the vibrational level of the earth, as it is, as the Schumann resonance is showing us, as the sun activity, and right now the galactic alignments, and what every planet is undergoing change right now. It's not just human caused. We have to get over our ego, we have to get over the controls, we have to get over the programming. What is happening now is orchestrated, and we all have our part to play. So that's my closing message, and my prayer for each one of us is to align with that. And I hope that...
Can I ask you one more question?
Yes.
We've been asked to talk about the new earth. That was beautiful, by the way. Always. So what I hear you talking about also is new earth, and because we're trying to look at the portal of what's going on right now, and we can't change it. There's this split. It seems that there's there is an opportunity to pivot. There always is, right? How can we make that new earth a reality right now? Soul mapping matrix.
You want to take this one?
I'm just going to share.
You're going to go on answer your own question.
I know, I didn't mean to do that.
Run with it.
Soul mapping matrix is really about coming out of the programming that has kept us blind, but at a rate and an expansion that works for you or you or you for us, so that we're not just like blown apart. But the great thing is that we're already being blown open, right? Sometimes we have a heart moment and we're just like, aha, and that is so much of the spiritual community that all the not just yoga and not, but because yoga can be very pressurized and really hard to sit and do spiritual practice and meditate. It's very difficult. But the feeling good and the riding the waves of yumminess, of doing crazy things that give us rushes of hormones and endorphins, all these things that make us feel good, these are actually very human spiritual practices. So in the soul mapping matrix, we break it up into 3 different realms. And on the top realm, which is radiating positivity and abundance and feeling magic, it's ironic because that is already naturally in all of us. And what's being pressurized right now,
That's New Earth.
That's New Earth. So I guess the only thing I would say is that we are asking and talking about opening up the not just awareness of what's happening and not just trying to pivot into something positive, but actually taking what is and making a choice to live from our magic, our divinity, like use what is going on. And I think that my prayer is for everyone to know that it's not pooping rainbows and unicorns. I don't know, that probably didn't make sense. Everything's so backwards for me right now, but it's not about feeling good. It's about being good, and it's about radiating out of the darkness some wisdom and light and finding each other through that rubble. Because last night we talked about the volcano, and every day there's more information coming out. Every day more is happening. And for those, if anyone is actually listening who doesn't know what we're talking about, there are many ways and resources to find that out, but there's so much censoring happening that it's not coming out very fast publicly.
And yet it's also coming out. See, I see what's happening externally.
Same thing for Bhakti Yoga.
In a way, it can be healthy and supportive to have the connection between the upheaval within and the upheaval without. And
bring it back.
I know we want to bring it back.
How about we just chant and remember that this is the time that Chaitanya came 540 some years ago, and this is the time that saints are available on the earth. That if you want to find that which makes you up level and feel transformation, it's available like that. And though we turn away at some point from divinity and forget that we're divine magical beings, we can remember like that.
That's what I wanted to say, which is a great, maybe we'll talk more about Kirtan itself tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's such a beautiful practice, and it's becoming more well known. It's not a household name yet, but anyway, what I want to say about Kirtan, which is what we'll do a little bit at the end, and this is so much of what our practice is, the chanting of the divine names, is that it's both a service to the divine and an embodiment of ourselves as servants, which is the only safe space for our consciousness to be. Ultimately, otherwise our tendencies to want to control or enjoy will always creep in and will always contaminate the our internal environment, our consciousness, or the external environment. It's the only way to keep it pure. And it plays out on the outside too. It's in the inside, it is cleansing the mirror of our hearts, because we are connecting with that source, that personality from which we come from, of which we share the inherent qualities of eternality, consciousness, and bliss. And as we chant, it is the ultimate atmospheric cleanser. It's the ultimate environmental act. If you want to be a real environmentalist, then you chant Kirtan, because it's not addressing it's addressing the root of the problem. The root of the problem is not earth being contaminated. It's not the water being contaminated. It's not the fire. It's not the air being contaminated. It's that there's so much pain and suffering coming from falsehoods in the ethers, in the space. That's what it said about this age. It's the age of Kali, which is the age of anxiety, quarrel, and confusion. So many people are fighting. Our attention spans are so short that we are just forgetting who we are. We're forgetting our relationships with each other. Just look at what's happening right now. We're forgetting that we are all Americans. We're forgetting that we're all whatever our identity is. And then if you go deeper down to that identity, it's a soul identity. And so if you go to the depth of your identity and you create a strong, stable, rooted position in that, then it will just cascade upwards and everything will be addressed. So with this kirtan process, it's not just for us, it's not just that you do it for you, and not just that you do it for your relationship with your creator, but we do it for the entire, not just the planet, but the entire cosmos is affected by this process of kirtan.
Jai. Let's do a little kirtan. That was beautiful. Can I have those cartels right there? You want to please send them?
Mm-hmm.
Shall I start or you?
There were.
Om Gyana Timrandasya Ginanjana Shalakya Chakshura Militanjana Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. We're going to invoke Chaitanya's name first. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Krishna Jai Shri Radhe.
Jai
Jai Jai Shri Radhe.
Sham. Jai Om Nicha Leela Pravishtam Vishnu Paji Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Nicha Leela Pravishtam Vishnu Paji Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to the Vaishnavas.
All
All glories to the
glories.
Vaishnavas. All glories to the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. All glories to all the souls all over the world. Please forgive us for any offenses that we may have made. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you. Thank you.
Forgiveness, that might be a nice topic.
Forgiveness would be a really good topic for tomorrow.
Forgiveness and the Great Awakening.
Join us tomorrow for another Rise of the Sacred Sovereign. We'll see you soon. Blessings. And if you have any questions or comments, please write to us. If you want to learn more, go to jaishreeyoga.com as well as soulmappingmatrix.com. And we hope to see you again really soon.
Haribol. Radhe
Blessings.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Stay sovereign, y'all. Stay sacred sovereign.
Stay sacred sovereign.
I am closer.